Hello, Karina here, and welcome. If you're watching this from YouTube, I just want to say you probably want to come over to my Facebook group, the Center for Highly Sensitive People, because that's where we're going to be doing these live videos. I will be posting it on YouTube after, but to get them right away and to join in the conversation, you'll want to be in the group. So a big reason why I am on live today is because I've created a new offer that I know a lot of you are struggling with. And I know a lot of you are struggling with it because this is something I struggled with. So I'm a highly sensitive person, I am a high sensation seeker, and I'm an empath. So it basically means that I have a more active nervous system, so I'm sensitive. I take in a lot of information from my environment. I'm a high sensation seeker, so I take risks. I do things that most highly sensitive people probably wouldn't do. I like to travel, I've gone skydiving, I love roller coasters, but the high sensation seeker part, it just means that I'm just a little bit of a higher risk taker. Calculated risk taker, of course, because I am also highly sensitive. But the last part, me being empathic in all of that, means that I'm very good at tuning into what other people want and need and giving that to them and being that for them. And so today I'm going to talk about how this has infiltrated my relationships throughout my entire life. Basically, before I go into the thing that I want to share with you today, I want to share the program that I created for you. It's called Lost in You, because this is something that highly sensitive empaths get stuck in. We get lost in the relationships of others because we can tune into them. That's what we're really good at. We're really good at knowing what other people want and need, and we make it our job to do that. But when you bring that into the romantic sense with someone you're dating, with your partner, it's gonna look very interesting. And one way it's gonna look for you, especially if you're either in a relationship or not, is through love addiction. So today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I broke this pattern in my life around love addiction. So it's funny because when I sent out this notice that I was going to be talking about how I broke my patterns of love addiction in my relationship with my husband, I've been with for 13 years, I had at least 3 people reach out to me. It's like, oh, Karina, this is a scary topic. This is a big topic. And I'm like, I know. That's why I'm talking about it. But I'm not going to talk about something that I don't feel solid in. I'm not going to talk about something that is something I'm still struggling with. I'm going to tell you what I've learned and what I've done to not be stuck in this pattern anymore of love addiction. There's a few major pieces. So to just tell you a little bit about myself, since preschool, since I was probably around boys, have been obsessed with boys. I've been boy crazy my whole life. I could tell you who my crush was in preschool and kindergarten all the way through until I was in college when I met my husband. So I knew that when I met my now husband, who now I've been with for 13 years, I knew that when I met him, this pattern was not going to work. It wasn't going to be okay. I knew that if I was going to be with this man and I was going to be in integrity with him, this could not get in the way of our relationship because he was too important and our relationship and what we were building were too important. So what did I do? What did I do differently that I did not do in the other short and long-term relationships I had been in before? Well, first things first, when I first met my now husband, we had met at a party in college. And it was the end of the night, and it's funny, like I just vaguely remember meeting him. We were in the basement, and it was the end of the night. Everyone had left pretty much, but I was with my best friend, and he was there with a couple of his friends. And the guys that threw the party, they were trying to get rid of the alcohol, so they're like, free shots. And my husband now was like, yeah, and I was like, ew, gross. Those are like disgusting, vodka and rum and tequila. Ugh, no thank you. Goodbye. So that's what I remember. I remember he did a woot woot for the free shots at the fake bar that they had created for the party. And I was like, okay, I think we're done here. But I do remember him just being like, just something about him. There was like an openness, there was a connection there. But the thing is, I had just broken up with an ex-boyfriend that I had been with for almost 2 years, and it wasn't a great relationship, in the sense that it really challenged me to use my voice, to speak up for myself, to set boundaries, and to say no to things. Before, when I was with this ex, I couldn't do any of that. I did a lot of things that I probably might never have been exposed to if I didn't meet him. So there's at this point, I do thank him for all the things that he like kind of brought me into, but some of those experiences were things that I would never do again. So gotta appreciate the people in your past who, I'm not gonna say he hurt me, because he was just being himself, but that just wasn't the relationship that I knew I wanted to be with long term. So I needed to heal from that relationship. It was a toxic relationship. I needed to heal. And so it was literally like maybe a month after I met my now husband that I broke up with him. And I just wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready for any of the guy stuff. I was like, no, get away from me. I can't do this. So even though I was having a conversation at this party with my guy now, I wasn't open. And I told him that. I think I was actually very blunt at the time. I was like, I'm not really looking for anything. But he did ask me, like, are you on Facebook? Can I find you on Facebook? And I was like, sure, of course, find me on Facebook. It's not gonna hurt. So, number one, the first thing I want to share with you on how I broke my relationship, my love addiction, is I didn't jump into the next relationship. Okay, I will say, leaving my ex, I did need someone right after to help me get over him. So yes, I did have someone lined up right after, but I knew that I was never gonna be able to date that person long term. So keep that in mind, that like, you need some separation in between your relationships. And if you're jumping from one relationship to the next and you're not giving that transition time, you're just, to me, you're not starting the relationship on solid ground. And so I knew that if I was going to be with someone again, I would need some time and space, not just to heal, but to come back to myself, because I had truly lost myself in this relationship, this last one before I met my husband. Okay, so number one, I didn't jump into the next thing. I grieved, I healed, I shared my stories about all the things, all the traumatic things, if you will, that I experienced. I worked with life coaches, I saw healers, I learned about past lives, like, it just opened up a whole big door to understanding myself. And it was actually the first time someone told me I was an empath, which was really important for me to hear, because before that, I didn't know that all the reasons why I had been in this relationship had been because I felt guilty leaving them. I didn't know how to set boundaries. I really lost myself to be who he wanted me to be, so that the relationship could survive. I was very compliant. I wanted to be a good girlfriend, and anything that he told me to do, I did it. I didn't want to lose him, right? Because I guess there's a part of me that felt like to lose him was worse than to lose him was worse than not having anyone. So yeah, and I'm a very loyal person, so I wanted to make it work, but it wasn't working. Okay, so first things first, if you want to break love addiction, you want to create some space in between your relationships. Don't try to jump into the next one. If you think that you're in a relationship now and there's someone else better, that probably someone else is probably not going to be the person you end up with. And it is, which I know some people are married to the person they ended up like cheating on the other person with. The foundation is just going to start off a little bit rocky, so you're going to have to do a little bit more work. Okay, so I didn't jump right in. The next thing, okay, so summer goes by, so that was the end of the year that we met at that party. Summer goes by, we didn't really talk too much, just a few messages on Facebook. I remember a couple times he sent me a message, and he was telling me what his dream was, and he's like, what do you think it means? And I just thought that was very interesting. This is my husband now. That like, I never had a guy ever ask me about interpreting dreams. Like I remember I tried to do this with my ex, and he basically bought me a journal for my birthday and said, here, write your dreams in this journal so that you don't have to tell me them in the morning, because I don't want to hear your dreams in the morning. Like, that's what I was dealing with. Like, it's just like this weird, like, I care about you, but like, it's very inconvenient for me. So it would just crush my heart. So anyway, like I said, this summer I didn't see him. And he would send me little messages here and there, and I ended up sending him my phone number. So anyway, then the fall comes around, school year starts again. September comes. This is September, early September is when my husband was born. So it was his birthday. And apparently, which I don't really remember this, but he created a Facebook event for a birthday party, a big birthday bash. And he invited me on Facebook. He didn't send a personal invite. It was just like a regular invite. And I didn't really know him, and none of my friends would have come to that party with me. So I think I remember clicking no. Well, my husband tells me, you clicked no, and you were the only person on that list that I wanted to know if you were going to be there. So I said no, like, and then he's like, now of course later he tells me, he's like, you didn't have to hit no, you could have just said maybe or just not responded, but you hit no. That really hurt me. So I of course we laugh about it now, but anyway, it was probably better that I wasn't at that party, because I think he had turned 21 and drank so much tequila, ended up drinking the worm at the bottom of the tequila bottle, and that was his birthday party. So I'm kind of glad I wasn't there. I don't think I would have been in a good place to be there with him. So I think after his party, he was like, screw this girl, blah, blah, blah. And, at that point, that summer, I had been dating around. I was like, I had definitely dated around. And I wanted to just like kind of like get it out of my system that like I needed to like be with a certain number of people, or just a certain amount of people. I needed, I guess, get that out of my system, so I didn't feel like I wanted to continue pursuing guys. And I am the type of person where I'm a quick learner. So after probably maybe 2 or 3 guys that I had been with, maybe once or twice, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. This, and that's pretty common for highly sensitive people. We're more picky about who we choose, and also we prefer to be in monogamous relationships just because there's a whole lot less drama. So the whole single life wasn't really for me, but it was fun while it lasted. So anyway, after my husband's birthday, it was October, and I did cheerleading in college. And one night at cheerleading practice, it was a Sunday, one of the flyers, the girl who goes up in the air, she was doing this crazy basket toss thing. She came down, and I was one of the catchers, and her elbow hit my mouth and knocked my tooth out. So yes, after 4 years of having braces, getting a tooth knocked out is the last thing that I want. But it happened, and it was very traumatizing, and I needed to go get that fixed. But I remember the next Tuesday after the accident, I was supposed to be at work, and I wasn't at work. I was watching TV because I didn't want to be at work with half a tooth. And I told my boss I'm not coming to work. So that night, my husband texted me, and he said, hey, it's so-and-so. I don't want to say his name. Just keep his information private. But, hey, it's blah, blah, blah. And at first, I was in a daze. So I literally had to go to Facebook and type in his name and figure out who he was, because I just wasn't there. And I did, and I was like, oh, him. Okay, I like him. So he said, would you want to hang out tonight? And I was like, you know what? I just had a really crazy accident, and I feel really insecure right now, and I don't know if I really want to see anyone. My tooth I don't have a tooth, and that's freaking me out. And he was very sweet, and he said to me, I don't really care what you look like, first of all, and if you want to watch a movie, let's watch a movie so you don't feel pressured to talk. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Because just for some comparison, there was a guy that I had a crush on. It's love addiction again. I had a crush on him, and I remember telling him about all of this, and he basically responded with like, oh, well, when you're better, you know, like maybe we can hang out again. And of course, it was always me reaching out to him, never him reaching out to me. And it just made me feel like, oh, wow, like, oh, I can't be perfect. You know, if I'm not perfect, I can't be with you. So it just gave me some perspective that like this guy really doesn't care what I look like, or if he didn't know what I looked like before, it's not a big deal to him. So I was like, you know what? Fine. Let's come over. Let's go get a movie from Blockbuster. Yes, we did. And Blockbuster, remember those days. We got a movie from Blockbuster and we watched a movie. And then once the movie was over, we started talking, and 2 hours goes by and I had completely forgotten about my accident. I completely forgot about what happened to me. I was just so in the moment with this person. I forgot to mention that when I met my husband for the first time, and in his Facebook profile picture, he had this really curly fro and a huge beard, okay? So when he walked into my apartment that night to hang out, that's what I was expecting, this like really mountainous looking man with curly hair and a big beard. But when he walked in, I still remember, he, like, literally my jaw dropped to the floor, and I was like, oh, that's him. He had cleaned up because he had an interview for a grad school that he was applying to, and he had just shorter hair and you know, a little bit of stubble, and I was like, oh, come in. So it's just so funny how like hair can kind of change things a little bit. But anyway, it kind of threw me off guard a little bit, so I got a little nervous. But anyway, we had a great night. I forgot about my tooth, and next thing you know, we're talking late into the night, and I'm telling him all these things about this energy healing session that I got, and you know, he had no idea what I was talking about, but he was open and he listened to me. And I will always remember this story, and so when I tell people about the story of how me and my husband met, I share all of this because how we met is... I feel like, you know, I'm definitely the type of person where I believe things are connected. So I do think that him texting me that night, me having my accident, I would have been at work otherwise. Maybe I wouldn't have been available. Maybe I wouldn't have felt so like vulnerable, right? But I felt like he really saw me, and what I looked like wasn't like a big factor for him. I feel like he does say now that, like, you know, he had been thinking about me for months, you know, since we met. So I really always appreciated him for continuing to pursue me, even though he kind of gave up a couple times. But I think sometimes that makes it a little bit more interesting. But anyway, let's move on to the second thing that broke this love addiction. Okay, so that was our story, how we met. But the second thing is that we took our relationship really slowly. So we started dating in October, right? That next holiday season, it was like Christmas time, we're at my aunt's house for Christmas, and I was telling everyone about my new boyfriend, and she's like, oh, Karina, are you gonna be with him forever? Is he the one? And I remember just confidently grounding in my feet and saying to my aunt, you know what? I love him today, and he is the one today. So as long as I keep loving him today, then we'll see. We'll see if he'll be the one. And this is something that I had shared with him. And I said to him, I don't want us to rush into the future talking about getting married or having kids or what we're going to do together. I just want to be here with you. I just want to be here with you. And so because of that, I didn't really tell him about my past either. It's something that I did differently from other boyfriends. I would literally tell them my whole life story. For whatever reason, I thought it was important for them to know my entire history so that they knew what they were getting themselves into. So that's number 3 that I want to move into. So the second one is that we took the relationship slow. Okay, I only shared things with him, and he shared things with me as it was relevant and as it was important. But my third thing about how I broke the love addiction was, we were at our 6-month anniversary, and he said to me, and I remember he was just really upset the whole night, and I didn't understand. I didn't know why. And then finally we're in the car at the end, and I said, what's going on with you? And he finally said to me, he's like, we've been dating for 6 months and I barely know you. And again, I kind of grounded my feet and I say, good. Good. I don't want you to know everything about me and my past. You will learn about me and my past. I want us to grow together, and who I was is not who I want to be. Who I want to be is someone that I want to grow with you. I want to grow into that person with you. And that's what we have done over the last 13 years together. We have grown together. And of course, there have been times where I've shared things about my past, and my relationships, and my history. But initially, it didn't get in the way. It didn't fog the way that he was going to perceive me or see me or treat me, right? Because I didn't want him to like feel bad for me for all the things I had experienced. But it was important to me that we were just present with each other. We were just in the moment and taking it one step at a time instead of rushing into the future, imagining all the possibilities of all the way things could go. Because when you do that, you create these attachments and these expectations. And then when the person starts to not meet up to those expectations, then your perception of them starts to fall apart. And then you take them off this pedestal that you put them on. And that's where relationships start to feel like they're failing. Okay, so let's go into number 4. Okay, so in those times, eventually you will be in your relationship and you'll get to the point where things are going to get hard. It gets hard because initially you're in this romantic phase where both people, they want you to like them. So you do everything that you can to make them like you. You take on their interests, you listen to them with every word, you text them all the time, you're just more people pleasing, and there's a little bit of romanticizing that can happen there. But eventually you get to the point where the relationship starts to evolve into the next level and you have to be your own person again. So you start saying the things that are bothering you, and you start saying the things that you want that they don't want, and you start standing up for yourself, and you start setting boundaries. These are all the things I could not do in my last relationship, so I knew that I had to do them in this one. So we got to that point, and we were fighting a lot, we were arguing a lot, and I would often tell myself, like wondering, like maybe we're not compatible. I'm this like really, spiritual person, so open, just so many things that I want to do, and he was very science-minded, biology major, and I just felt like we were on opposite sides of the spectrum, and I didn't know if he would ever be able to meet me on the other side, and that really worried me. I was scared that the person I was going to be with long term wouldn't be able to share this important part of me in our lives together. So, a pattern in relationships for highly sensitive empaths is that you get to a point where things get hard, and then you start having wandering eyes, as I call them. You, as a way to feel better because the relationship's not making you feel good, you bring your attention and you start romanticizing all these random other people, whether it's someone made up or someone in real life, on why they might be a better fit for you and why they might treat you better or differently than the person that you're with now. But of course, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? And what you're really avoiding is feeling the hard feelings. What you're really avoiding is having the vulnerable conversations, telling the things to your partner that you are thinking you're feeling, that you're terrified of saying because you don't want to lose them. But it's like you not being vulnerable is the thing that's making you lose them. Do you understand that? So you're pushing them away by not telling them the things that you're thinking and feeling in an honest way, because you don't want to lose them, and yet this is the exact thing that's making you lose them. Okay, so big part of relationship addiction is those wandering eyes, is romanticizing, using your imagination to think about all the ways this person or that person can be more fulfilling to you or be the person that you want them to be, which is usually the things that your partner is not. Or just a couple of the areas that maybe your current person is slacking in a way, and you wish that they were better in. So the truth is that every relationship, every really great relationship has friction. Just like a diamond or just like a pearl, there's going to be pressure. And that pressure, that friction is the thing that's going to help you grow. The thing is, we expect that it's supposed to be happy all the time. It's supposed to be good all the time. But when the pressure comes and the friction comes, instead of really working at it and understanding your side of things, their side of things, finding a middle way with them, creating agreements, finding ways to reconnect, that's when, not doing this, avoiding doing this, this is where the wandering eyes comes in. You start thinking about other people. So I know that with my husband, I was like, no, I've done this in past relationships. When it started getting hard, I started going other places. So I knew I had hired a life coach, and I was like, I see this pattern in my life. I don't want to mess things up with my guy now. Please help me, because things are getting hard. And I know my tendencies. I know that when things get hard, I start to think about other people. And I mean, there was no one in my life at the time, but I just knew my tendency. So I worked with this life coach, and we worked at this pattern. And she helped me get clear on my communication. She helped me be able to have these vulnerable conversations, because I felt very disconnected from him. And from that conversation, no joke, like I literally could not get the words out. I would start crying, I would shake. It was so hard for me to be vulnerable, especially with the person that I really loved. And I remember I was just using this guitar that he had, and I was just strumming the guitar and just saying a word and saying a sentence, and using the guitar as kind of like a channel to help me get the words out. And I just remember sitting on the kitchen floor in my old apartment with him, having this really hard conversation that I didn't feel connected to him. And the thing is, he had said the same thing. He said he felt very disconnected from me, and that he wants to feel more connected. And just hearing those words out of his mouth, like, what? You want to feel more connected to me? Like, I thought you just didn't care anymore or whatever. It was just like, my heart had exploded, and I literally fell in love with him again. I just think about that moment of like, just like the moment of falling in love with your person again, when you think all hope is lost and it's like time to leave, right? But if both people truly want to be in this relationship, you can make it work. And it starts with being vulnerable. It starts with feeling the hard feelings and coming together with your person, finding a way to talk to them. And as long as both people still want to work at the relationship, you can make it work. I know you can. And one person might be more of a leader, but as long as you have at least one leader, one person who's more aware, who's willing to guide the relationship and willing to experiment with new ways of doing things, you can get through that. You can get through those hard transitions, because when you're on the other side, it's like a whole new door opens, a whole new life is waiting for you. And we could have opened up other doors where he would have went one way, I would have went another, but we chose to go through together. And we have created so much more of our life together. So that was number 4 on how to break love addiction, is know your patterns, know that if you get wandering eyes, know if you start to romanticize being with other people when things get hard. Because all addiction, not just love addiction, but alcoholism, smoking, video gaming, sex, all the addictions happen because you're too scared to feel your feelings. We have an epidemic in our world where we are too scared to feel what we are feeling. So we hide behind these things that we're addicted to. We stuff them down. We stuff down these emotions. But if you can just increase your emotional intelligence just a little bit and practice being vulnerable, maybe first in a safe space with someone you can trust, and then with the people that you care about, you will get through these patterns. You will break these patterns. Okay, let's breathe that in. Let's take a nice deep breath. Okay, so I got a couple more things here, so stay with me. Number 5. There got to be a time in the relationship where, I think it was around this time also, where we were kind of like, all right, listen, so if we're going to stay together, I can't be in charge of your happiness, and you can't be in charge of my happiness. I remember having that conversation with my husband, and making that agreement with him, telling him we cannot be in charge or not feel like we're in control or responsible for making the other person happy. That's not my job. That's not your job. I need to figure out what makes me happy. You need to figure out what makes you happy. And then we need to share those things and see how we can work those into our lives. So I remember from that conversation, something that I had said was, something that would make me really happy is I want to travel. I want to get out of New York. I want to leave this place. Like, I love where I live now, but I'm not ready. Like, the college town we were in, it was like there was the family bubble and the college bubble, and we had just left the college bubble, and we were not in the family bubble yet. So I knew that for the majority of my 20s, I wanted to leave New York and I wanted to travel. I wanted to live places. And I remember telling my husband that, and he was like, "You want to travel? Like, seriously?" I'm like, "Yes, like, of course." And that was a moment, I think that was an opening for him, that, like, I guess he thought that I was just, like, content with living the life that we had been living, buying a house, and then that being our life. But there's just so much that I wanted to do. So I think for him, hearing from me that we shared this passion and this desire to travel together also rekindled things for him in a new way, because now we were able to start to create together. We're able to start setting some goals on things that we wanted to move into once we went through that door. And that's what we did. For about 7-8 years, we traveled, and maybe every 1 or 2 years we moved somewhere else. We lived in Hawaii, we lived in the Caribbean, we lived in Colorado, San Diego, all the places that we ever wanted to travel to. And we did it together, one at a time, okay? Until we finally were kind of burnt out and ready to start our family. We came back to family in New York. So that is number 5. Stop being responsible. Stop feeling it's your responsibility to make your person happy. You're just never gonna be enough. You're never gonna feel like you're enough. You're never gonna feel like you're doing enough. And, you know, it's just if that's your thing right now, just declare it right this minute. I am not in charge of your happiness, okay? And then know that there are ways to then operate in the relationship after, okay? This is why you would enroll in a program like Lost in You, okay? My coaching program, Lost in You. This is what we talk about. We help you create a new way to be in the relationship so that you're not so focused on what the other person wants and needs. You're coming back to yourself, and you are able to meet them in the middle and then co-create. Create things together that you both want, right? There's going to be some things that you're going to want and they don't, but you're going to find a way to create those things as well. Okay, and the last thing that I want to share with you guys that helped me break this pattern of love addiction is understanding something very important. And I think this is the thing that solidified this addiction. Like, I don't have an issue with this anymore, which, like I said in the beginning, like, it was like I had people that were like, "Oh, Karina, this is going to be a really hard topic." But, like, this is not an issue for me anymore. And partly because of this last thing that I want to share with you. Anytime I meet someone new who inspires me or who gives me, like, that flutter in my stomach or my heart or whatever, I don't fall in love with them like I used to, because I know that they are a mirror for me. They are mirroring something to me that is in myself that wants to come out. So yeah, that person might not have the qualities or do the things that my partner does, because my husband and I are very different, but that person might emulate something in me that wants to be born. So I use that as information for myself on where I want to create my life next, where I want to open myself up next to, the things that I want to do, the person I want to become, okay? I see the people who inspire me. So I like dudes, I like guys, you know, but whatever it is for you. Do you like women? Do you like men? Who inspires you? Okay, if a guy inspires me, I don't use that flutter in my heart as a reason to fall in love with them and to pursue them. I use that as information for myself. I appreciate them for mirroring to me the thing in me that wants to come out, that wants to be seen, that wants to be born. And that right there to me, is the thing that solidified the breaking of this addiction. Knowing that I don't need to pursue these relationships in order to bring out more parts of myself. I can be inspired by them, and I could bring that into my relationship. I can bring that into my life in my own way, and I could share it with my partner and share about who I want to be next and how I want to be and things I want to do. And at this point, we respect that with one another. We support each other's visions and goals and dreams. We are here for each other, and we are here to co-create together. But we can only do that if we both know what we want, because we are both in charge of our own happiness. All right, so if love addiction is your problem and you're ready to admit it, whether openly or privately, that's quite all right. Let's connect. I invite you to set up a consultation with me so that we can talk about how this program, Lost in You, could work for you. Okay, so right now it is set up as a 3-month program, 2 sessions per month for 3 months. You get 6 sessions total. But if you want to spread it out, you can spread it out over 6 months. I'm okay with that. Especially, I know for me, I do like to take my time. I like time to integrate with things. So you don't need to back to back every 2 weeks. Sometimes the every 2 week thing will be a little bit more of an intensive, but if you're ready for that, let's dive in. If you really need to heal your relationships now, let's do that every other week sessions for 3 months. Okay, but again, I have a price for the 3 months, but again, if the price is like setting you back, I don't want that to get in the way of you getting help. You can spread those payments out over 6 months if you choose to do 1 session per month for 6 months. Okay, so I'm here to work with you. Some of my programs are self-study. Some of my programs are private. This is a private program because it's an intimate program. It's an intimate experience. We're going to be talking about some stuff, some heavy stuff, and I'm not scared to go there as long as you feel safe with me. So if you feel safe with me and you feel like I'm the person that is going to support you through breaking this pattern, let's connect. I will leave a link for my consultation form in the description of this video, and let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.